In this year's Engineering 2 class with Mr. Dubard, we were introduced to a new program called Fusion 360. This happened to be a little unfortunate because we had gotten so used to using SolidWorks in our class last year, but we were up for the challenge, and luckily there were a lot of similarities with the programs, so we were able to figure out some of the main features quicker than we thought. We started off by looking at some tutorials on YouTube from our main man, Product Design Online. He showed us how to make things such as a whiskey bottle, paperclip, Lego, and a beer bottle. These tutorials were all great learning experiences that allowed us to get the hang of the program, and little by little we started to get more and more comfortable. All these tutorials were meant to help us get ready for our first big project. Mr. Dubard asked us to come up with a design of our own and even gave us the idea that we could find something around our house that may need fixing. I began looking around my house to see what I could find and remembered that the remote for my lights and fan was missing the battery cover, which meant the batteries would always fall out. I thought this would be the perfect thing to design in Fusion 360, so I got to work. Since I was participating in class virtually, I went out and bought my own calipers to take the measurements of the back of my remote. Once I had those down, I started to work on my product in Fusion 360. Since this was an old remote, I had to work around a few issues. There was a dent where one of the pieces on the battery cover was supposed to slide into, which forced me to only create one of those pieces, which you can see circled in red. Also circled in red, you can see I had to create two protruding lines going across my piece to prevent bending and possibly breaking. Although I was virtual, Mr. Dubard was able to show me my product 3D printed through the screen. I have to admit, it was a really good feeling seeing the finished product after you had put a lot of work into it. That was only motivation for me to keep improving on the next part of our project. Now that my design was finished and ready to go, the next part of our assignment was to create a box for our product so we could eventually distribute it to the public. To give us ideas on how our box should be made, Mr. Dubard asked us to order pizza one weekend and look at how the pizza boxes were put together. Without hesitation, I ordered some pizza and began to see how the pizza boxes were put together. We then created our boxes with the dimensions we wanted, with paper, before we worked on them in Fusion 360. I felt this really helped me get a good idea of what I wanted to do when going to design the box in Fusion 360. After some trial and error, I was able to design a box that fit my battery cover. As you can see in the picture, rather than designing a ready-made box, we designed our boxes so that we could fold them up after they were printed. Mr. Dubard then asked us to create some designs on our boxes to make them less boring. The main goal was to have these things printed out, but unfortunately with the problems of me being virtual, we were not able to print out my boxes with its designs. This is certainly not a finished product just yet, but thankfully I am returning to school next semester, so I'm hoping to really bring my project all together when I return. I've had a lot of fun learning Fusion 360 so far, and I can't wait to continue it next semester and be back in school with Mr. Dubard and my classmates.